What's good, everybody? I'm Jessica Nicole Dickerson, aka Jane D. Welcome back to another video. So you may notice there are pockets missing in my bookshelf again because I'm about to recommend like over 15 books for you to read. These are great books for the summer. These are all contemporary books. Most of them are diverse and intersectional in some way. I will explain to you why I think you should read them, and they're all completely underrated, and I really think more people need to hear more about it. So I'm gonna do my due diligence and do my best to recommend all these books to you. They are not categorized at all, but these are all about 4 or 5-star books that I really love. So let's dive into it in no particular order. The first one, what a perfect summer read to start off with. So we have Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing-Wen. I think I'm going to link the books down below too if you are curious or if I missed any details. This is a book I would recommend if you enjoyed this show Gossip Girl. Not for the actual like gossip in Gossip Girl, but for that high luxury New York fanciness. This book takes place in a girl who goes to Taipei. She is going to the school called Love Boat, and it is a school to kind of teach you about your heritage and educate you, prepare you for college, but also kind of help you find someone romantically to get married to. Because, you know, adults be scheming and they want you to get married. So I highly recommend this. The girl goes through such a journey of separating her dreams from her parents' expectations, but also dealing with race, also dealing with class. Talks a lot about privilege, but also all while having fun and an exciting nightlife. They're like always kind of skipping off campus to like go to the club and like experience life. I really enjoy it because it's such a real interpretation of someone who's trying to break out of the mold that they've been placed in, like getting straight A's, going to school, only thinking of college. When you bust that mold, you kind of never do it gracefully. You never know exactly where you are supposed to go in life or what you're supposed to do, and this character really busts through that mold. Let me read the first sentence for you. The first few pages are all acceptance letters or rejection letters from colleges and universities. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that. So I really like that aspect because clearly Ever, the main character, is really focused on college, and that's what her parents are wanting her to strive for. But the first sentence is, "The envelope drops through our mail slot like a love letter." I also really enjoy the writing in this. It's very lyrical, very expressive and flowery. So if you like that, I highly recommend this. I think you're gonna love it. There's also a lot of romance, guys. There's no reason to not love this book, besides if you don't want a romantic, drama-filled, really diverse contemporary. Then I don't understand, yeah. But those are most of these books on this list, so we hope you like that here. Next is a really fun one that I enjoyed and can't wait for the 3rd installment of the series, and that is A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. So this is a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland, but it is a black girl, and in this world we have Wonderland is like a parallel world basically, but some nightmares kind of slip through Wonderland into the real world. So we need people like Alice who can protect and fight those nightmares, and things go awry in this book. I really enjoy this book because it does talk about, you know, race, real world issues, intersectionality, but also there's such a fun, whimsical element to it, getting chased by nightmares and scary monsters, almost being attacked or assassinated, dealing with the Mad Hatter. I also just really like how fun the language and writing style is. It really helps this contemporary really bring to life the world and the characters and their struggles. I also really appreciate that Alice is a full-time student and her parents are worried. Her mom is really worried about her, and she's also out late at night fighting monsters. So it's kind of like Kim Possible in a sense. So if you like Kim Possible, I feel like you're gonna like this. But she's balancing all of this and she's not really doing it very well. So it's a very interesting series to dive into. Let me read you the first sentence. The prologue is called Curiouser. I love how Alice in Wonderland is weaved through this book. Is so good. Alice couldn't cry. She couldn't scream. All she could do was run. First 3 sentences, but the first line of the book. Powerful. All she could do was run. Who's she running from? Pick it up. Find out. Next on the list, we have The Skin I'm In. So in this video, I will have some middle grade recommendations as well. So this is a little bit more of a hard-hitting middle grade that I really love, by Sharon G. Flake. So this is about a girl who is in middle school, I believe like 7th or 6th grade, and she's learning to love the skin she's in. Get it? Haha, the skin I'm in. we got puns. So she's learning to love herself, love her hair, love how she's different from others. She ends up having kind of a mentor in the book, a teacher who is very confident in herself and reassuring. But it's also very hard-hitting because we talk about friendships, the expectations of like beauty standards, and how that really impacts you and makes you feel you need to behave and act a certain way, which is not true. You don't. You should be yourself and also have your own moral like high ground, so that way you don't do things because people expect them of you. You should only do things because you want to do them or you think it is the right thing to do. So this is very impactful. It is short, but also I highly recommend. I always talk about this book. I'm really looking forward to it. And exciting news, she got a companion novel. Look at that. Look at the upgrade. I feel like Sharon G. Flake is an amazing author who is completely underrated, but she's won awards, like the Coretta Scott King Award I think is the one she won for this. She's award winning, she's so talented, and no one's really talking about her, at least in the book community, I feel like. So I'm really happy she was able to get this companion novel. Firstly, the design, hardback, like I feel like she's leveling up. People are starting to notice her and be more aware of her, so I'm so hyped for this companion novel. It's The Life I'm In. I have no words for my excitement for that companion novel, but let me read you the first sentence of The Skin I'm In. The first time I see her, I got a bad feeling inside. Dun dun dun. It's a good ride. Next, we have another middle grade. How fun. Okay, so we have Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a book I also frequently recommend, but honestly, I will keep recommending this book till the day I die, I think. I feel that strongly about it. It is one of my favorite middle grades, but it is a story about a bunch of kids who are in a special needs class. They are in middle grade, and they are all dealing through a lot of issues when it comes to either immigration, privilege, a lack of privilege, and it's a mixed jumble of kids. Some are white, some are black, some are Hispanic, and this teacher allows them a safe space to finally talk through all their issues. They're going through so much, besides already being in a special needs program, so they need the assistance. They also get to talk about life and how difficult it can be, and it's such a honest, refreshing conversation that isn't just like the perspective of the black student who's dealing with their struggle. It's from every perspective, and it's so unique and different, and I really vibe with this book. Also, it's gorgeous. We love. Chapter 1, We Think They Took Papi. Oh, this book is hard-hitting. Ooh. Yeah, so some of these books are very much hard-hitting books, and some are very light and fluffy, but you know what? They're all amazing, so read them. Next, we have The Love and Lies of Roxana Ali by Sabina Khan. I freaking love this book. I think it got hyped a little bit when it first debuted. This was her debut book, and just overall such a stunning book inside and out. So this is about a girl who is a lesbian, but her family is more traditional, and then when they find out that she got a girlfriend, they send her to India to correct her. And I can't tell you how horrible that is, but it gets even worse, and I don't want to spoil anything for you. And I think it's just one of those books you have to pick up and read when you're in the right mindset to talk about those hard-hitting issues. But I also really appreciate that this talks about privilege, that coming out is not easy for everyone, that it can be very hard when you have a very conservative traditional family, and how it's really scary and like really like life-changing, like life impact scary. That I feel like you pick this up when you don't want to feel alone, or if you want to learn about other people's experiences. So I highly recommend, and a lot of this book does take place in India, so I would check it out. It's still US kind of centric because the character grew up, I believe, in like Seattle or something. Yeah, they sent her to Bangladesh. Yeah, so they spend a lot of time in Bangladesh because they're trying to like correct her. It's very, oh, it's so hard-hitting and so impactful. I think it's something that needs to be discussed and talked about. I think these books are really important in between your fluffy romance books, to have these characters that reflect real people and real experiences. So the first sentence is, no parties, no shorts, no boys. Ooh, they were starting out with the rules, man. Next, we have a fluffy book. I honestly love both books by this author, and it is Christina Forrest. She wrote Now That I Found You, so that's this book, which I really love, but she also wrote I Want to Be Where You Are. Also really cute, fluffy contemporary. I recommend both if you just love fluffy contemporary that is still kind of, you know, intersectional and talks about a lot of different experiences. This one is about a fun car trip that's rebelling against her parents but chasing her dream as a ballerina. Love. But I will be talking more about this book because I'm an actor and this talks about acting, so deal with it. This is a story about a girl who got her best, like she got a really popular famous role right out of high school and she's ready to take on her new career, and then a video leaks and she loses the role and she thinks her life's over. So she goes and hides out in New York and she tries to kind of fix her career and right the wrongs she did. She may meet some people along the way that change her perspective of life in the career of acting. There is, I wouldn't say hate to love, but a little hate to love, a little enemies to lovers in here because it's a little tense. It's not all, you know, rainbows and butterflies. She is very distraught and very neurotic about her career path and all of that. But it's great to see someone who is wholeheartedly chasing their dreams and also kind of talking about finding themselves. I really appreciate that this whole book is not all about, you know, finding love with someone else. And it's about really finding yourself. The quotes in here are so amazing. The life lessons you learn. I feel like this could be really impactful for anybody like transitioning into something scarier, where it's career, college, high school. I think it's a nice refresher to be like, it's okay to find something new within yourself to explore and experience and to challenge your beliefs. Impeccable, and also just fun and cheesy while we're at it. So the first passage is a news clipping of the girl losing her job. The first sentence is, "Miss Jones, how does it feel to have such a breakout role so early in your career?" So yeah, it's an exciting book to say the least. Next is a new favorite. I'm also going to be talking about this in my wrap-up, which will be coming soon. I've been a little late, my bad. But new favorite, say what? I'm so excited. I really love contemporary that deals with love, deals with finding yourself, and deals with real world issues when it comes to either race or like who you are, the characteristics that define who you are. I really love that, and that's why I love diverse contemporary, because it's so layered. It goes beyond just, you know, someone who is being bullied. It goes beyond your classic YA of I'm just falling in love with someone and they just look good and I like them. I feel like all of these books really push that envelope. So I would highly recommend Things. Wow. This Time Will Be Different by Misa Segura. So this is about so many things that I cannot even compound it into one thought, but I will do my best. So it is about a girl whose family is of a Japanese heritage, Japanese American, and they had to deal with the internment camp. All of that compounds into them and their history because they own a flower shop. So they owned the flower shop beforehand, and then during the internment camps they lost properties to it, and they worked so hard. Her family, the main character's family, worked so hard to buy it back, and now the family's really trying to hold on to it. But her mom wants to sell it for money, so there's a bit of complication there. But there's also a bit of romance and a bit of self-discovery, and also an interesting interpretation of activism and how to push people to do the right thing. So the conversation of those things happened, the internment camps happened, you know, 50 plus years ago. What do we do today? What can we do today to rectify those wrongs? Talks a lot about that while still having a fun contemporary atmosphere where she kind of likes a boy who's a bad boy, but she also kind of might like a nerdy guy who has punny shirts. We love punny shirts. I think the main love interest in this is adorable. But we also talk about friendship and relationships and how they change. It talks about so many good things, guys, and this cover is so amazing. All of these book covers are so beautiful. But let me read the first sentence. Hannah calls it a state of becoming, but most people would call it chaos. Cause she crazy. This book also covers abortion, by the way. Just letting you know. Check Goodreads, do your research. Next we have Color Me In by Natasha Diaz, a book that I haven't read in a year or two, but has resonated with me for so long, and I think about it so often. So this is about a girl who's mixed. She's Jewish, she's black. I couldn't recommend this book more, because it's about finding yourself when you are like mixed, when you have that intersectionality of understanding the struggle on both ends, but both sides kind of being like, you don't represent us, you don't understand us, but she's like, but I do, but also not over speaking and saying that this is everyone's experience, when obviously her experience is very unique to herself. She learns so much about it, how to be an activist, how to speak for herself. So this is another hard-hitting book that talks a lot about race and identity and finding yourself, which I think is such a crucial narrative that we need. Definitely cried during this book. I really want to reread it sometime soon. Let me read the first sentence for you. The electric hiss, like bees caught in a plastic casing, sends shock waves through the sterile light bulbs in the bathroom of Mount Olivet's Baptist Church. Why is she in church? What's going on? Plot-wise, I don't remember it too much. I just know that her parents, I believe, are splitting up, and she's dealing with that on top of wanting to kind of dive into both cultures more, which is difficult with them breaking up, and a little bit of romance. Sprinkle, sprinkle. This next book is also another hard-hitting book, but I think it is a good just contemporary to read over the summer, because it really makes you think of police brutality and shootings in a very different way, while still being a comfortable contemporary that's young adult and easy to approach the issue, and you care for the characters and things like that. This next book is How It Went Down by Kekla Magoon. So this, honestly, I think is going to be a new favorite author of mine. I haven't read enough of her works to really say that with my full chest, but I do also have another book that I would recommend from her as well. Both are hard-hitting. The way she discusses topics are so unique in my eyes, because How It Went Down, it's all about a shooting that happens, and this kid gets shot and ends up losing his life. But the story spends the time talking through everyone's perspective of who saw it, and everyone has a different viewpoint. That's so crucial. There's people who are activists, there's people who are friends, there are people like the guy who shot him talks a little bit here, the guy's best friend of the person who ended up, you know, being a murderer. So it comes from so many people's perspectives, and the real takeaway, and this isn't a spoiler, the whole lesson of the book is, just because someone may have looked or was a criminal, even if someone was a criminal, we have no foundation if this kid actually did any wrong, but if someone did something bad, they don't deserve to die. That's the real message that's coming across this book, and it's so powerful, because we always have the discussion when someone gets shot or murdered. We talk about, you know, how ethical they were as a person. Oh, maybe they weren't such a great dad, or maybe they weren't such a great person. It's like, okay, they may have not been a great person, but they don't deserve to die. No one deserves to die like that, you know? So it's such a great conversation, while still being a very interesting narrative. So I think this is a book that can suck everyone in. It's definitely emotional. Trigger warnings for, you know, gun violence, because it does talk a lot about that, but it's still a very interesting and nuanced way of discussing it that I would highly recommend to everyone to read. It's just one of my favorite books, and I again need to reread this and also explore more of her work. So the first sentence is, well, actually I'm going to read the first couple, because it says red, period, black, period, white, period. That's all I remember. It was a blur, like a dream sequence in the sort of movie that comes with subtitles. So it's so good. Read it, please. And look at this stunning cover. Read it. The other book that she wrote that I really enjoy is The Rock and the River. So this is a story about a boy who lives in Chicago in 1968. His dad works for the civil rights movement, and his brother is a Black Panther. So it gets very complicated, and it's the discussion of, how can I change the world? Which way is better? Non-violent, violent? What do I as an individual want to do to help progress? Change. And it's so profound. This is a middle grade. He's from a younger perspective, but definitely a book that I think everyone should check out. I'm not going to read the sentence because I already talked a lot about her other book, but I just highly recommend it, guys. Please read it. We got so many books, and we got a lot of fluffy books coming, so hold on to your horses, your snacks, your coffee, your whatever. This next book is so good. So this one, it reminds me of With the Fire and Hide by Elizabeth Acevedo. This talks a lot about food, so if you love food, you're gonna love this. It even has recipes in here, so it's great. And the main character is Black, Cuban, and French, as am I, so I feel very cool. And also this book mostly takes place in France. The main character, is doing a food program, like a cooking, not contest, but it's a cooking competition in France to be a, like, I forget why it's so special, but it's really special, and she really wants to be an award-winning chef. She wants to own a Michelin star restaurant, which is literally so difficult and so challenging, but she's all for it. Or maybe not as much as we thought. So she learns about what life really should be like, and she kind of learns this because she meets a guy who was an athletic swimmer, like an Olympic level swimmer, and he no longer is following that dream or in pursuit, because he decides that his life should go on a different path, one that makes him more happy. So the question this book presents is, should you keep doing something just because you had a dream about it, but the pathway to get there is unpleasant and doesn't make you happy? Or do you try something new, maybe more risky, but something that can be a little bit more rewarding? We talk about that. We also talk about her abuela who passed away. So many wonderful moments in this, and it's just so sweet. So the book is Saltly Bittersweet. Sorry, I don't even think I said what the book's about or what the book title is. Also another stunning book. This is way more light and fluffy of a book. The romance is at the forefront of this, and ooh, the food. They talk about pies and fancy food. Like, the cooking experience in this book is definitely summer level fun. Like, it's great, and I highly recommend it. Let me read the first sentence for you. The Perfect Souffle, Chapter 1. Happiness, like love, arrives. Oh, at least that's what my abuela Lala used to say. So sweet. I can't stand. Another author who I think will be a favorite contemporary author of mine is Maureen Gu. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about Somewhere Only We Know, but I also recently read The Way You Make Me Feel by Maureen Gu as well. I'm gonna talk more about this in my wrap-up, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss. But Somewhere Only We Know takes place in Hong Kong, and it's about a K-pop star who one night just really wants like a cheeseburger, and she goes out and she ends up bumping into this paparazzi guy, and they have this whirlwind romance. But at the same time, I love how romantic and cheesy it is, but it also talks about life, what you want from it. They push each other to be like, is this really what you want from your life? And it's so interesting because it feels like a lot of dates pushed into one day, where they're getting to know each other, kind of falling for each other, but also calling each other out, being like, why are you just a paparazzi guy? Like, don't you want something more of your life? Like, strive for what you really want. And it's so cool. And it's also, again, takes place in Hong Kong, and we travel around all these areas, so it's very scenic and rewarding and fun. So let me read the first sentence to you. Chapter 1. Lucky. When you have a face that's recognizable by an entire country, you have zero room to make mistakes. Ooh, intense. Yeah, and The Way You Make Me Feel was such a cute contemporary about a girl who kind of hated this other girl, and they end up working together at a Korean, Brazilian inspired food truck. I can speak, I swear. And they end up growing and learning from each other, so I really appreciate that this kind of talks about girl and girl hate a little bit, and we discuss that while also discussing love and lots of fun things. I think Maureen Gu knows how to make such well fleshed out characters that are complex, but also talks about, you know, the simple things in life, like love and wanting the best for yourself. And it's so sweet, and I recommend these two for sure. The next book I have here is All the Things We Never Knew by Leora Tamani, and this book was kindly sent to me, but I am so happy. This book, I think, is great because it's semi hard-hitting, but it's not about like gun violence or not about a race. It's hard-hitting in the sense of dealing with family, complicated family situations. The girl realizes her dad has another family. The guy has lost his mom and he's dealing with grief. And the two characters meet in such a unique and interesting way, and they spend the whole book trying to figure out, are they the ones for each other? It's cheesy, and the writing style is perfection for your perfect YA contemporary romance that makes you question your life decisions but also make you want to wish the best out of the world. So sweet, so romantic, so cute. But I also really love that romance, though at the forefront of this story, is not everything, and this book really touches on that. I don't want to spoil the ending, but I really enjoyed how it ended. Let me read the first sentence to you. Oh, and it's signed by her. Look how cute, guys. So cute. I stand this author so much. I need to read more of her work. Chapter 1. Nobody ever warned me about love. This brings so many fond memories. Next, we have another book that is considered hard-hitting but also is very fun to read and makes you experience other people's lives in such a unique and different way. So we have American Panda by Gloria Chow, one of my favorite books. I really cannot stop praising this book enough. I read it maybe 2 summers ago and I really need to do a reread, guys. So sweet. Okay, so this is about a girl who just graduated high school and she's going to MIT. Her parents want her to go into pre-med and become a doctor, but she's scared of blood. She don't like that stuff. She doesn't want that in her life. But, you know, you do what you need to please your parents, especially in this household, because they are a little bit more traditional in the sense of if you break the rules, like if you date someone who isn't Asian, specifically someone who is Taiwanese, if you date someone who isn't, you will be disowned. And her brother is disowned. They pretend he doesn't exist. They don't help him financially. They basically don't invite him to holidays, and it's a very serious issue that May spends the whole book kind of being scared of. She's like, I have to listen to my parents because I love them and I don't want to not be in their lives, and scared of the consequences if she doesn't have them. So it's very kind of scary in a sense, but also heartwarming because she learns to chase her own truth, her own path in life, and to stand up for what she believes in. And a little romance blooms in here. It's super sweet, and I will say it's not all hard-hitting. There is a really good discussion between the parents and her eventually. I don't want to spoil it, but I will say I liked how realistic it was. It reminds me of The Love and Lies of Roxana Ali, where the outcome wasn't completely like, everything's fine, everything's fixed, pretend we didn't do anything to you. It's realistic. They admit their faults in a sense, or they know things didn't play out exactly how they wanted, but they're still parents and they still want and hope for the best. So it's that interesting conversation in YA that really doesn't happen often, of parents communicating with their children about what they want and have different expectations for them, especially when you have immigrant parents. So I could not recommend this book enough. It's so heartwarming and sweet, and I believe this romance she has in college is her first romance ever too, so it's a lot of little firsts and cute moments and things like that. The first chapter is Stinky Tofu. The stench of the restaurant's specialty walloped my senses as soon as I entered. Check it out, please and thank you. Okay, got 2 more recommendations. One is super hard-hitting. I guess I'll start with it. It is What Kind of Girl by Alyssa Shemil. I actually got to interview this author, and I'm very excited because I don't think I would have ever found this book without that experience. And this book is by Sourcebooks, so I guess I'll link the live show down below. But you can just Google like What Kind of Girl interview and you might be able to see it on Sourcebooks channel. This book is very hard-hitting. Lots of trigger warnings for suicidal thoughts or self-harm, mental illness, drug abuse, so many things, abusive relationships. But What Kind of Girl is, I think, a good summer read because I think it's a great time to contemplate your life, your values. This story is about a girl who comes into school one day with a bruised eye, and she finally admits that her boyfriend has been physically harming her. And What Kind of Girl discusses the kinds of girls who let people hit them, or the kinds of girls who dress a certain way or act a certain way or ask for it. It's very interesting, and the narrative is so crucial and important, and I especially think to younger audiences who deal with this. And I think what's really cool is the author took such care with the subject matter. She knows statistically, like, I forget the exact statistic, but it's like most girls experience self-harm or abuse during their high school years. it is something that happens and no one's talking about it. So I really like that she took the time to talk about it, and it talks a lot about identity and finding yourself, finding your own voice and power. This is such a powerful, underrated book, and I can't say it enough that I really want you guys to at least check it out. I know not everyone could read this, maybe because of the trigger warnings, but I highly recommend it. I think it is way more powerful than people give it credit. Loud car passing. It also talks a lot about feminism, being a bad feminist, quote unquote, because you're, you know, in a relationship that's messed the F up, or if you don't love yourself. It talks a lot about what's it actually like to be a feminist and being that girl. What's that girl? Not like the cool TikTok that girl who's like badass, but being that girl who dresses a certain way or who's popular or whatever. Okay, the first sentence is, it's hard not to want to defend him. This book is so good. Very hard hitting though, so I again warn you, please be careful when starting this journey in this adventure, but I still recommend it. I think it is a crucial book. Next, we have Pride, and this is the last book. We did it, kids. Yeah. So this is a joyful book that is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. This book is so exciting to me personally because I feel like it adds a lot of layers to it that makes it more real. It's not just, you know, this guy comes into town and they don't like each other and then they end up liking each other and then that's it. This talks a lot about gentrification, about sister love, about women who strive for a higher education or strive for knowledge and self-empowerment, and can they do that while still also chasing love and romance? Talks about that. It has a lot of those conversations in a very truthful, authentic way. Also, Ibiza Boy is just an amazing, prolific writer. Our main character wants to be a poet and wants to chase her higher education, and this dude be messing with her feelings, and we talk about it. It's fun. It's just a whirlwind romance while still being grounded in reality, and very empowering to read. And also, yeah, this cover, so gorgeous, so gorgeous. Chapter 1. It's a truth universally acknowledged that when rich people move into the hood, where it's a little bit broken and a little bit forgotten, the first thing they want to do is clean it up. Dun dun dun! I love that because also I recently read A Taste for Love, which also is really great, but I'm going to talk about this in my wrap-up. Again, subscribe so you don't miss it. And the first sentence in this is, a truth universally acknowledged. I think that's a quote from Pride and Prejudice, because this is also a Pride and Prejudice retelling. So if you want some fun Pride and Prejudice retellings, because you love that love to hate energy but don't want to actually read a classic, these are great contemporaries. I highly recommend. But this one's like a favorite. This one was a good 4-star solid read. I need to let it marinate more before I start highly recommending it, because all the other books I read and think about often. This one I literally just finished recently, so I don't talk about it too much. Guys, that is all the books. Oh my gosh, there are so many books. I really hope, firstly, that you have a good summer, that you stay safe, please and thank you. But I also hope that this gives you a little bit of, you know, fun reading list, whether it be a hard-hitting contemporary or a more fluffy romantic contemporary. I hope you find some books in here that you love. If not, you know, add them to your TBR. Whenever you get to them, you get to them. I just love these books with all my heart, and I think they deserve more recognition. They're so underrated, but they're also great reads for the summer. So hopefully you guys get a chance to read them sometime soon. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you love any of these. It would mean the world to me. Also, maybe check out my Patreon if you would like extra content from me. My goal is to reach 25 Patreons, so that way we can start doing buddy reads and live shows together, and I'm getting close to that goal, so maybe check it out. There are over 30 videos currently available on there, so yeah, maybe support me a little more if you want. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just subscribe and like this video, and that is plenty support for me. I love you so much. If you made it to this point of the video, please leave down below this emoji so I know you are the real MVP. And yeah, I hope this video gave you a little bit more sunshine, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!